हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू अनदर पॉडकास्ट ऑफ आवर चैनल द फ्रेंडली पिच, जहाँ पे हम डिफरेंट लोगों को लेके आते हैं जो कहीं ना कहीं से क्रिकेट से रिलेटेड हैं। वो डायरेक्टली हमें फील्ड पर तो नहीं दिखते, बट वो बिहाइंड द कैमरा वो भी उतना ही काम कर रहे होते हैं ताकि ये स्पोर्ट को हम आराम से अपने घर बैठे इंजॉय कर पाए। और उन्हीं में से आज हमारे गेस्ट है अर्जुन बासु।
Hey, thank you so much. First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Arjun Basu. I'm an SNC, a strength and conditioning coach. I've done my master's from Leeds Beck University. And currently, I'm working with the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association as the head SNC of the academy. And I also have my own company named Primal Patterns, which I run alongside my father. So I just do both these side by side. I obviously also work with a lot of athletes who from other associations as well, other state cricket associations, and multiple other sports as well. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, so like as you mentioned, you have done your masters also in this field. So
Yeah.
can you tell about your like childhood? How do you began this, and how like this is not a conventional path, like you understand, like this is not which made. So how you started
Yeah,
this?
yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, everyone doing engineering or doctor and something like that. My father obviously was the main inspiration, and he was doing this obviously for the past 25, 30 years, maybe more. And I was always exposed to this field at a very young age, right from the age of 10, 11. And I used to sit in on workshops or, courses, and I used to, watch videos of him watching Paul Check or Charles Poliquin,
Okay,
and that quite kind of rubbed off on me. And from there onwards, I kind of developed an interest.
okay,
Initially, I did play sport. I did play under 16 cricket state troubles. I did some athletics. I played some football.
okay,
I was kind of trying all the sports out, but eventually I kind of landed on S&C. And it was quite interesting and fascinating to me. And that's when, at the age of 17, yes, I started doing my American Council on Exercise, which is the ACE. I started doing ASCA, and then I did my master's
okay,
in 2019. So yeah, I think I've started working as an S&C ever since I was 17, and
okay,
right now I'm 26, going to be 27. So again, it's been quite a long journey, but I've started relatively young, and that's quite really helped me a lot.
okay. So like, can you tell more about your work? Like, what exactly do you do right now, and like, what is your day in your life looks like right now?
So working as an S&C in the Tamil Nadu cricket, it's like the NCA, the National Cricket Academy,
Hmm.
where we have athletes coming in, let's say from an injury, and they need to do some return to play protocols, which regarding S&C work. So let's say they need to do some basic strength work and conditioning work before we can clear them into going into the sport. So let's assuming an athlete just comes into me, let's say a hamstring issue,
Hmm.
the physio works with them for a couple of weeks, and then they come to me for about a week or weeks or so, where we do some work and I test them and see if everything's okay and if they're ready for the game.
Hmm.
So I do that, and it's not just working with athletes. I think there's a lot of logistical stuff that happens in TNC as well. Like my job is also to introduce new things and make sure all the SNCs who work within Tamil Nadu
Hmm.
are up to speed on the on data, on knowledge, on protocols as well. So I kind of oversee things on that aspect, and also trying to bring in new things like I'm trying to bring in the GPS for the Tamil Nadu cricket, or try to get them to do this new DNA fit thing. And also, we're trying to do other things as well, like revamping our new gyms and making sure everything is up to date and Tamil Nadu is well equipped with everything that's essentially related.
Okay. And
Yeah.
like for example, like a cricket player comes to your academy like for NCA for some issue. Like what are
Mhm.
the like most important things you look at, and what are the most important things you take care of to make him fit for the match, or what?
So we have a general protocol to test them. So we have our general testings for swimming. You'll have like a 10 meters, 30 meters, a yo-yo test,
Mm.
some element of strength test. We maybe take a scan again, a DEXA scan. So we take all these things, and whatever the athlete was pre-injury, we try to get them to that level or even better, so that when they go back into the game, that is the likelihood of them getting injured is quite less. So
Okay.
these are things we look at. So again, we monitor his S&C work very closely. We monitor his skill work, and in the time that he's with us in the academy, we take control of how much of skill work he's doing, conditioning work, strength work. We try to look at his nutrition. We try to look at his recovery. We try to make sure we plan things in a very, strategic fashion, actually, so that he's well equipped when he goes back into the team. Because once he goes back into the team, then the team S&C will handle him, yes, but our job is to just make sure he's 100% fit, then go into the game and he's absolutely fine.
Okay. And like how long this process can be? Like we have heard like players going for there for like 10 to 12 months or even more, and some like come after
Mhm.
2 to 3 months. Like what is the average time like a player spends?
We had one recent athlete. She had quite a big issue. She had a peroneal tendon dislocation, and also she had a lateral meniscus tear. And she was in the academy for about at least a month and a half, 2 months. And she was with the physio for quite some time. I think she was spending about, she's coming in every day for the past month and a half.
Okay.
And her issue, she needs to be taped up and managed properly. And then she came to me for S&C work, and we work at least, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, every alternate day. I go by her response because some days when she does something, she feels very sore the next day or she feels stiff. So I need to take it in a very unrelated fashion where I make sure that she's completely fine to do the session the next day. And yeah, I think the longest I've seen at least is about 3 months someone spent at the academy. We try not to hold them too long. I know some physios and SNCs will try to be very conservative and try to keep the players at the academy for a long time, but we just try to get them as fit as possible, and they should be available for team selection. Because again, we have selectors and coaches who will ask us, is the athlete ready? When can they come and play? So that's a very important process that we make sure that we do our utmost best and monitor her very closely. That so when she goes back into the sport, the issue doesn't reoccur. Because we've had that issue in the past where players probably go into a game very quickly after rehab, and then the issue happens again, and that is not a very good look for us. So we try to make sure that when we do send them back into the sport, that they are 100% fit. So that is, like I said, I think an average you'll see probably 2 3 weeks for very minor injuries, even lesser. But something a bit major, you're looking at maybe 2 3 months at the academy.
Okay. And like at this academy now, like all different sports players are coming, or it is like only to 2 to 3
So
sports?
with Tamil Nadu cricket, it's obviously only the athletes who are with, let's assume, from the girls under 15 to girls under 19, 23, senior women's. And for men, it's more senior men's, 23, 19, 16. So it's the entire age groups for cricket. At
Okay.
Primal Patterns, what we do is obviously we do that, but we do with every sport. So we do athletics, table tennis, tennis, and you name it. Whatever sport is covered over there. Yeah.
Okay. So like over your journey, what have you seen? Like which is the sport that is more injury prone like to any other sport? What do you think?
Uh, with cricket, I'd say fast bowlers, it's always they're quite injury prone, given that they have to, especially Tamil Nadu cricket is the fact that they have to play throughout the year. They have multiple tournaments and they're coming for injuries like lower back issues, hamstring issues. These are issues I see a lot. But in terms of which sport is the most injury prone, since I work primarily in cricket, I would say cricket. But then I'm sure other sports like let's say football as well, because of the high demand of the game, I've seen quite a few injuries there as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think cricket for sure for fast bowlers. Yeah.
Okay. So like you mentioned, you have also like played sports at a early stage
Mhm.
in your life. So like, can you tell about that journey? Like, were you a cricketer or what?
I mean, I wasn't very good, so I can't say. I mean, I just played under 16 state probables, so I was there. And again, I couldn't go on to the next level. I mean, next round as because I had a stress fracture in my shin,
Okay.
and that actually put me out for about a year and a half because it was quite serious when I took the MRI. And during that point, that 1.5 years, it was more of a learning for me from an SNC how to rehabilitate myself and come back into playing. And but the thing is, I think in Tamil Nadu cricket, it's quite competitive. If you miss out for that much of time, like a year, year and a half, you could potentially it's a career ender for you. So
Okay.
that's why I think from that I got the interest in SNC that the injuries and everything need to be rehabilitated properly, and how does an SNC interject to actually get the athlete better? Because back then I was just playing the sport. I wasn't really training as much. Yes, my father was there, but I was just being a kid and just playing sport and just making my own mistakes. But I realized that it's very important for early specialization for strength and conditioning work for any age group. People say shouldn't train post before 14 or before 15, but I say you definitely need somebody to take care of you, especially in S&C. Or at least a performance coach has to work with you from a very young age so that you avoid all these types of injuries. Well, I'm sure if I was working with an SNC and I was doing all these things, they could see from a mile away that I was probably going to get injured because I was bowling quite a bit. I had a lot of groin issues, I had hamstring issues, I had adductor issues, I had obviously back issues as well. And this is because I used to bowl very unregulated. I never used to have a method. I just kept bowling, 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 and then obviously that caused the injury as well. And my shin issue was more of an overuse injury. So that was again a great learning curve for me. Even though it was bittersweet, I still learned a lot from it.
Okay. So, so first your initial dream was to become like a cricketer. Then you like shifted.
Yes, of course. I wanted to play cricket, but I enjoyed cricket a lot. Obviously, I would be very honest with you. I wasn't as passionate about it as I would. I always enjoyed football. I
Okay.
ended up playing football after that at around from 18 to 22, 23. Like I tried to play in my university when I went to Leeds. I was in my futsal second team, third team. I even got into a Sunday league team. I even got into a Saturday league team, and I was doing quite well. But then even there, my skill level hit a gap. I mean, hit a cap. I couldn't go beyond a certain level. So I was very okay with the fact that I could do sport at a very, I would say, semi-professional, recreational level. I would say I'm good at it, but at that professional level, I wasn't able to get that. And I got the realization, and I was okay with it. I was not very like, oh my God, I need to get back. I need to play professional sport. I realized my limitations, and I was more than okay with it. Athletics, yes, I did quite a bit of athletics when I was younger. I worked with my dad, especially for the 100 and 200 meter, and I had hit my kind of peak time of 11.01, and I was doing quite well. But then again, with athletics, I wasn't as passionate about it as you'd see like Olympic sprinters now. People think that the Olympics is such a grand stage, and everyone wants to be an athlete now, but no one understands the work that it takes actually to get that to just put on those miners to get that what I say a split second timing that you get. Assume like a 9.67 or like how Noah Lyles recently won the 100 meters. No one looks at the work that's being put in to get to that time. They just look at the actual grand stage of things. So, uh, professional sport is one of the hardest things to do, and an athlete really needs to put in that hard miles to get there. And yeah, that's where I realized that I wasn't able to hit that level, but I could definitely help other athletes get to that level.
Okay. And I read on your LinkedIn like you are the first Indian to do a like master's degree.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell us about that. Like what is that?
So that was a very funny realization, but because when I went to do my master's, when I went to do it, um, when I finished it, came back, then we saw that no one's actually done a master's in strength and conditioning. Everyone's done a master's in sports science, or sports medicine, sports physiology, but in terms of masters in S&C, no one had ever done it, and I was the first one. And because of that, my peers who you know very well, someone like Soham Desai or Harsha from the NCS, Soham Desai is currently with the Indian cricket team.
Okay.
They started pursuing their masters in strength and conditioning, and I think from there, once my news came out, I think everyone now, if you look at it, everyone's currently pursuing a masters in strength and conditioning from organizations like Satanta or even my own university, Leeds Beckett, because I was the first Indian to do a master's in S&C in 2018. Now, I recently spoke to my tutors from Leeds Beckett, and now there are many more Indians coming and doing it. And I'd like to say that I had a small hand in it, that now S&C, in terms of academics, that people are going into doing a master's in S&C because I kind of started that thing. And obviously, it was publicized by my company and my dad as well. And now everyone wants to do that course, which is a nice thing. I think it's very good that people want to pursue education and not just be happy with these courses that people do. I think they want to get better and better and better, which is a good thing.
Why do you think this was the reason? Like no one was doing this earlier, and then this happened.
I don't think anybody was aware, to be honest. Again, like for example, my father introduced a lot of things to Indian cricket and Indian sport in general. So, with regards to let's say check courses, something like a CSCS, he brought these things into the limelight, as well as the masters in strength and conditioning. He's the one who encouraged me to go and do it abroad. Even I had no idea about it. So we found out. I had a friend who was in the same university, and he told me this is a good course to do. And I was looking for the course, and it was there, and they ended up doing it. And then from there, dad, being the mentor he is to other people, had told everyone else, you should also do this course, you should do a master's. And that's when people started going outside and venturing. So I think he was more of the catalyst. I was just a person to kind of start that fire, and then now it's going around the world, around India, that is.
Do you think that is like really important, or hands-on experience is as good as a degree?
I would say, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative of my course, but I always felt that primal patterns had given me the tools I needed to work with the team.
Okay.
That hands-on experience is the best thing. But it's very important for you to have an academic base to know your fundamentals, to know your basics, and going and doing a master's challenges you from a theoretical point of view, which is a great thing. I think every person needs to study in terms of S&C. You just can't just be a person who says, I want to do S&C, I want to be a trainer, and start being a trainer. I think having qualifications, having a good academic base is very important. And then obviously skill comes into play. Obviously, if you could be very skillful, but you may not know exactly why you're doing what you're doing. Like involuntarily, an S&C might be doing good things, but he might not have any clue as to why he's doing it or the reason behind why he's doing it. So I think having an academic base is quite important. Yeah.
Okay. uh, and let's say like if a child wants to like enter into this field, he wants to be like a coach or he wants to be a trainer, so how should he start, like right now how can he enter into this, what are the starting steps?
Uh, So I get this question a lot. So I would say first, the SNC who's getting into the field should have done some form of sport. And I think sport is very important. I think playing a sport or even training for yourself in general, understanding training and going through failures and errors and everything, and then getting it right. I think every SNC should do that or should do that before they get into it. So if you look at us in our company, we make sure all our trainers who come in, they follow a proper well-rounded yearly program. We take them to the track. Make them an athlete basically in the first year. They do a lot of track work in the first year, let's say 100, 200 meters, 400 meters. We make them train like an athlete, experience these things, time trials, races. Like we even enter them into like small competitions for them to understand how it feels to be an athlete. Because the only way you can be a good SNC is if you understand how it is to be an athlete to help them more efficiently. So I think that's a very important thing to do as well. For a person starting out, I think academically speaking, good courses to start with would be like an Australian strength and conditioning, a CSCS, an ACE, which is a very good course. It's a general person training course, but it holds very good fundamentals. Once you finish one of these three things, if you want to go to the next level, that would be your Australian Strength and Conditioning Association Level 2. That is the UK SCA, which is a United Kingdom course. And then, if you finish all these courses and you're still looking to improve yourself, a master's is always a very good thing because once you do a master's, I think in terms of obviously education, that would be the pinnacle of what you need to do. And then after that, working with smaller teams, smaller age groups, and then working your way towards a senior team would be the way to go. But academically, I'd say to start with the things I told you before. And then in terms of work, it depends. SNC is quite volatile in terms of where you get work. There is no due process that if you finish a master's, it does not mean that you will get work immediately. You really need to find jobs. It's a very volatile field. So if you are lucky to find work, great. But I can safely tell you that just because you finish a master's doesn't mean they come to your house and give you a job. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, but are there enough jobs in a country for this, or there are more people and less
There are
jobs?
numerous jobs actually first. Numerous jobs, numerous sports. I think it's just a way of how you approach these companies or teams and obviously get that job. Because most associations, I wouldn't say hire who they know, but generally they don't hire outsiders because they'll hire someone within the circle, within whoever's closer. So that's just generally how it works. But there are numerous job opportunities actually for SNCs, numerous, right from first division cricket team to a second division to any local football team to an I League team to a first division football team, badminton, table tennis. Like there's always a need for SNCs. But again, the good quality SNC are missing in this kind of country. You have trainers, you have trainers. Trainers exist everywhere in your gyms and everywhere. But in terms of being in SNC, that is a very niche and nuanced kind of profession. People blur the line between trainer and SNC. Most teams only require a trainer, and trainer job is very simple. But the SNC job is much more complex than it is.
Okay, so like the children who are like playing under 17 cricket, under 19 cricket at a very early stage, So,
Yeah.
do they actually require an agency to work with and to train them, or a trainer is just fine for them?
I think if you're looking to go to the next level, if they want to become national level athletes and become the best of the best, I think having an SNC is very important. And an SNC will prove vital for them in terms of monitoring their loads, their nutrition, their recovery, their strength work, conditioning work. It's all of that. I think it's vital for them. A trainer will not necessarily have the knowledge base to program things for an athlete. They might just bring them into the gym and just do whatever. Okay, today's legs, today's arms, or whatever. But I think an SNC will really look at it from a scientific point of view and take the athlete in a very systematic way, so they can play their sport, but at the same time also get stronger. And I think SNCs really work a lot of objective measures. So personally, for myself, when I work with a younger athlete, I always do stuff like a blood work. I do a DEXA scan. I do a fitness testing. And once I have all this data, I will plan this program. So once I finish planning the program and we do it, let's say for 4 to 6 weeks, I may retest them again in, let's say, a month or 2 months. If my objective data is getting better, I'm doing something right. If it isn't, then I obviously go back to the drawing room and reevaluate things. So I think that's why an SNC is very good because they really work on objective data and objective measures and make sure the athletes getting better. And SNC in India is not just a strength and conditioning coach. They also have to be very well equipped with devices like a GPS, a Oura ring, a Whoop strap, ultra human patches for blood glucose. They need to know a base of nutrition. They also need to know a little bit of physiotherapy. It's just they need to be a jack of all trades. That is the current need for SNC in India. When you go abroad, the UK or even Australia, SNC has a very specific title. They're only limited to strength and conditioning work. But in India, it's not just you doing that. You need to know how to do a lot of other things as well.
So, is it happening actually in India? Like the young athletes are signing up to an agency, or they are still going with a trainer? Like, what is?
I think every athlete, no matter what sport, they're working with some essence or the other because they understand the need and importance for it, and they're investing their own hard-earned money and actually working in S&C. And I think I can speak for a lot of my friends or who are athletes who are working either with me or with other S&Cs because they genuinely want to get better at their sport. Even if not at a professional level, even at a recreational level, you'll see a lot of weekend warriors or even semi-professional athletes working with an S&C because they want to be the best of the best in their field.
Okay, okay. And like talking about cricket specifically, like the fitness wave is very new. Like
Hmm.
let's say like in the last 10 years there have been so much emphasis on fitness in cricket, and we like talk about Virat Kohli that he has brought the fitness culture. Like what do you
Hmm.
think before that was missing, and what was happening that suddenly like it is only 10 years but cricket requires a lot of fitness, so why it was not happening before?
I think it was just more of people were not aware of it. And I don't think anyone came out and openly spoke about fitness being a very important thing, like how Virat Kohli had come out and spoken very openly about how it was very important for him to stay on a clean diet and sleep well and eat well and train well and recover properly. I think after that, and people seeing his dedication to the sport and love to the sport and actually doing very well and playing all formats. He was never getting injured. He was scoring left, right, and center. And people saw this and thought, wow, yes, he's extremely skilled, but he's also extremely dedicated to training and recovery. And but what people take this too literally. People think that Virat Kohli is in the gym all the time, so I should go to the gym all the time. It's not. I think the gym work is just like 10% of it. I think his dedication, his kind of his lifestyle management was impeccable. And I think that's why he is where he is and he is who he is. That was one common misconception of people that I've seen a lot of people, a lot of coaches believe that because Virat Kohli said fitness is important, that all players think they should go to the gym and start lifting weights. But that's not the case. There's a whole larger picture to look at. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, he's gym is bad for you, gym is bad for you. I've seen a lot of coaches say this as well. And I think there was some, I think, miscommunication at some point that they thought that gym is the only thing that got Virat Kohli to where he is. But no, there were so many other compounding factors that got him to where he is in terms of his fitness. And I think that's what they also need to look at. Look at the larger picture rather than just one particular aspect.
Okay. Have you ever got the chance like to work with Virat Kohli or some any other cricketer that is playing for India?
Yes, I've observed a few of the sessions. I've also helped around with dad when he was at RCB, and obviously seeing his again extremely dedicated. He's very focused in the gym. Very, he tracks his macros. He knows exactly what he wants to eat. He has his whoop strap. He measures everything. I think it's just very calculated the way he is, and he's extremely disciplined. Doesn't party. He's very on the button. Sleeps on time every day. I think he has the same food on a daily basis. Doesn't change variety. Again, he was able to replicate this just like how I say someone like Cristiano Ronaldo was able to do the same boring thing on a daily basis, which is a very popular line among uh, us, is that if you're able to do the boring things on a daily basis, that's what makes a champion. And that's why I believe those people have done very well that they were able to do the boring things on a daily basis. You know, check those things off the list on a daily basis without ever hesitating, doing the same thing on a daily basis, training wise, sleeping wise, eating wise, and that just put them, on another level.
Okay. And regarding fast bowlers in cricket, we have seen like fast bowlers are getting injured a lot. So, like, what is there a specific procedure to train them in the urgency or when they come to you from different athletes, or is it the same process?
Fast bowling is a very demanding kind of sport within the sport, and it's extremely hard for any SNC or coach to monitor. I think it's a very important relationship within the MDT, which is the multidisciplinary team, with the head coach, the physio, the SNC, and the bowling coach and the player have to be in sync and monitor the athlete expertly in order to reduce the likelihood of them getting injured, reduce the likelihood. Because only with all these people clicking and all these people being in constant touch and monitoring an actual fast bowler, I'm talking about an elite level fast bowler, that's the only way we will reduce the likelihood of injuries. And obviously, playing multiple formats and obviously, they travel so much tournaments throughout the year. There's hardly any rest for them to train. So I believe that monitoring is very, very important in order to reduce the likelihood of getting injured. You could just let them play every game, but you should be very tactical about some games. You'll have to rest them out, or you'll have to train them in a very specific way to make sure they don't get injured. So I think monitoring them, especially like through the GPS numbers, through their sleep recovery, seeing how they feel post a session, dome scale, RP scale, all these things come into play. But I think GPS is a great way to look at it as well. I think looking at the GPS numbers, looking at his resting heart rate, there's so many other things I can talk
Can you
about.
tell
But
about
yeah,
the
I think
GPS numbers like you have mentioned quite a times? What it is?
so. Talking about the GPS, which is the global positioning system, it tracks a lot of things. It tracks your total distance, your metabolic load, your accelerations, decelerations, your max speed, your high speed running distance, and if you have a polar strap, it also tests your average heart rate and your max heart rate. And this gives you a lot of metrics within a session, and that will help you plan a session on a daily basis. So if you see how much an athlete's hitting in a training session, and you see how much he's hitting in a game, you can monitor these two metrics and see if either he's overestimating or underestimating based on what he's been doing. And if the athlete's assuming his numbers are way too high in a game, that he's covered, let's say, 10 kilometers or 9 kilometers in the span of a 1 day game or even a T20 game, and his max speed is too high and he's done too many accelerations and sprints, this gives you a clear indication that maybe his neural fatigue or muscular fatigue might be quite high. So it's best to maybe rest him the next day so that he's recovered within the next session. So that's why GPS is vital for every fast bowler. That they mainly use it. I think in Indian team or any other team in cricket, mostly the fast bowlers will always use a GPS. Some of the batsmen might not be too comfortable with using it, but fast bowlers mainly will use it because these metrics are vital for them to plan every session going forward.
Okay. Also, I have
Yeah.
another question. Like few years ago, there was a lot discussion about Jojo test and its scores. Can
Mhm.
you explain once, like what exactly is Jojo test and what is like the score
So,
which athletes get?
yo-yo test is more of an aerobic capacity test, but also tests your acceleration, your deceleration, your quick turning, and the levels get faster as you go by. It starts at, let's say, 9 kilometers per hour and it keeps going faster and faster and faster. So it does test your speed to a decent basis, your speed endurance to a decent basis, but it's more of an aerobic capacity test and it gets progressively harder. You'd call it more of an interval run. And I think it's might not be more cricket specific, but it definitely gives an indication of how fit an athlete is, and I think it's an excellent test. If you look at footballers, the average footballer will probably do like 21, level 21. In the Indian team or any team now, you'll see the average is 16.5 or 17.1. When I was personally in Leeds, the MCCU, which is the name of the team in my university, the passing score was 19-1, which is impossible. If you take it now, no one's going to be running 19-1. Impossible. The women's team in New Zealand has an average of 17-1, which is higher than our men's team average.
Okay.
And I think uh, that's why when Dad started this off, 16-1 was a passing score, and 16-1 was actually one of the easiest scores ever. Anyone could do it. But I just think that the conditioning was not up to the mark back then, and I think keeping athletes accountable. Because cricket, I feel like you could get away with skill. If you're very skillful, you could probably get away with a few things. But incorporating fitness into this, obviously, in terms for an S&C, we don't want to deal with or physios. Injuries are something that we do not want to deal with. We don't want an athlete to get injured. If an athlete comes into a season running, let's say, a 14-1 yo-yo or a 15-1, you know for a fact that he will not last the entire season. It's going to be an issue. So if he comes in and his yo-yo scores are very good at the beginning, or his 2K is very good, and his scores are very good, the athlete's coming to the season fit, his likelihood of him getting injured is quite less.
Okay.
So that is why I think introducing any fitness test for that matter is very important for a team sport and has to be mandatory. It can be from under 14 level to under 16 level, but I think it's very important for every team sport to have fitness testing.
Is there any test right now in the Indian cricket team, like specific?
Yeah, right now there are multiple tests. We have like a 20 meters, 40 meters. We have a broad jump. There are vertical jumps. There's a runner three, yo-yo test. There's a 2K test. For females, it's 1 mile test. So all these tests exist. There is no more of a passing or failing score, but we do chalk them down under red flags. So it gives us a reference that, okay, this athlete needs to be worked on specifically because this conditioning or whatever is not too great. So they need to be worked on a little more specifically so that they don't get injured going into the season. For fast bowlers, mainly, I feel like if you're a fast bowler and you want to get into professional cricket, if you can't run an 18-1, you will never be able to be a good fast bowler. That was something that we came up with. I know it's a very harsh thing to say, but as a fast bowler, you are basically a 100-meter sprinter. You need to take care of your body extremely well. So an 18-1 is like a non-negotiable. You should be able to run an 18-1, and you should be able to. I think in terms of DEXA strength, I'm not getting to lean muscle mass or fat percentage, but yes, having between 11 to 14% body fat and being able to run an 18-1 yo-yo, make sure that this fast bowler is well equipped for the season. Skill obviously comes into play, then his skill has to be good for him to obviously make it into the team. But if they can hit these two parameters, then they should be good to go.
Okay, so any advice you want to give to a upcoming person who wants to be an athlete, like how he should train if he is not with any agency or something?
Okay, so what I'd say, my 2 cents to this would be that make sure you plan everything in a very orderly fashion, right from your training, your recovery, your strength session, your conditioning session, regardless of your sport. I think having a route map of what you're going to be doing from a week to week or a weekly basis or a monthly basis or every 4 weeks is very important. I've seen people just train randomly without any kind of aim as to what they're looking to build. So if you're an athlete, you're looking to really get to the next level, I think every sleep session, every meal, every session, everything counts. So I think monitoring all of that expertly will take you to that next level for sure.
Okay, so that was our discussion. It was great talking
Super.
to you, Arjun. तो ये था हमारा पॉडकास्ट अर्जुन बासु के साथ। आई होप आपको पसंद आया होगा, आपने और काफ़ी कुछ इसमें नया सीखा होगा जो आपको चीज़ें नहीं पता होंगी। और ये मैंने थोड़ा सा शॉर्ट रखने की कोशिश की है क्योंकि मेरे को लगा पहले 2-3 वीडियोस थोड़ी ज़्यादा लंबी हो गई और ये फॉर्मेट में वो शायद सूटेबल ना हो, तो मैं ट्राई कर रहा हूँ अब अगली 2-3 वीडियोस आधे घंटे के अराउंड रखूँ। आपका क्या कहना है इस बात पे मेरे को कमेंट्स में ज़रूर बताना। बाकी लाइक कर दो, शेयर कर दो, सब्सक्राइब कर दो। थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।